You wake up after 8 hours of sleep and you're already exhausted. Not the kind of tired that coffee fixes. The kind that sits behind your eyes, heavy and dull, like your brain is moving through mud before the day even starts. You didn't do anything yesterday. You rested. You scrolled. You tried to relax. So why does it feel like you just ran a marathon in your mind? This isn't laziness. This isn't you being dramatic. And it's definitely not something you can push through with more willpower. What you're experiencing is something most people never see, never talk about, and almost never understand. Your brain is tired because it never actually stopped working. Even when you were resting, even when you thought you were doing nothing, your mind was burning energy like an engine that forgot how to idle. And the worst part is, nobody taught you that this was even possible. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever felt guilty for being tired when you quote-unquote did nothing, stay with me. And if you're finding value in this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It helps more people who need to hear this actually find it. Let's talk about what rest actually means, because for a lot of us, it doesn't mean what we think it means. Most people assume rest is the absence of activity. You sit down, you stop moving, you're resting. But your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain doesn't recognize sitting on the couch scrolling through your phone as rest. It doesn't register watching videos for 3 hours as recovery. Because rest, real rest, isn't about stopping your body. It's about stopping the noise. And if you have a brain that's wired differently, if you're someone who's constantly jumping between thoughts, replaying conversations, planning things you'll never do, worrying about things that haven't happened, then your brain never gets that silence. It never powers down. It just keeps running, burning through glucose and oxygen and neurotransmitters, all while you're sitting there thinking you're doing nothing. Imagine your brain like a computer with 50 tabs open. Some of those tabs are playing music. Some are running videos. Some are loading pages that crashed hours ago but never closed. You're not actively looking at any of them, but they're all still running in the background, draining your battery. That's what's happening inside your head. You're not aware of all the processes running, but they're there, and they're exhausting you. This is especially true if your brain doesn't regulate dopamine the way it's supposed to. Dopamine isn't just the feel-good chemical. It's the motivation chemical, the focus chemical, the this is worth paying attention to chemical. When your brain doesn't produce enough of it, or doesn't use it efficiently, everything becomes harder. Not just the big things. Everything. Deciding what to eat, picking a show to watch, answering a text. These tiny, supposedly simple actions become cognitive obstacles because your brain isn't getting the reward signal it needs to prioritize and execute. So what do? You look for it. You search for that dopamine hit. You scroll. You switch apps. You start something new before finishing the last thing. You eat something sweet. You buy something online. You pick up your phone again even though you just put it down 30 seconds ago. You're not being weak. You're not lacking discipline. Your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's trying to survive. It's trying to find the neurochemical fuel it needs to function. But the problem is, those quick hits don't last. They spike fast and crash hard. And every time you crash, you feel even more tired than before. This is why you can spend an entire day, quote-unquote, relaxing and feel completely drained by the end of it. Because you weren't relaxing. You were microdosing stress. Every notification, every transition between apps, every time you remembered something you forgot to do, or thought about something you said wrong 3 years ago, your brain fired up. Your nervous system responded. And even though nothing physically happened, your body reacted like something did. Your heart rate increased. Your cortisol spiked. Your brain stayed in a low-level state of activation that it was never meant to sustain. Now add in the invisible work that nobody sees. The mental labor of remembering things you can't forget because you don't trust yourself to remember them later. The constant calculation of time, even when you're off the clock. The emotional energy spent masking, performing, pretending you have it together when internally you're juggling 12 things and dropping most of them. The guilt you feel for not doing enough, even on days when you're barely holding on. That's not rest. That's survival mode with a blanket on. And here's the part that makes it worse. The world tells you that if you're tired, you just need to rest more. Go to bed earlier. Take a day off. Do some self-care. And you try. You really do. But then you rest, and you still wake up tired. And now you feel like you're failing at something as basic as recovering. You start to think something is fundamentally wrong with you. That you're broken. That everyone else figured out how to be a functional human and you just didn't get the manual. But you're not broken. Your brain just works differently. And the kind of rest that works for other people doesn't work the same way for you. You need something deeper. You need actual cognitive rest. The kind that doesn't come from doing nothing. It comes from doing less of the things that drain you and more of the things that restore you. And no, that's not the same for everyone. For some people, cognitive rest looks like moving their body, going for a walk without their phone, letting their thoughts wander without trying to control them. For others, it's doing something with their hands, something repetitive and low stakes. Drawing, knitting, cooking, building something. Activities that occupy the front of the brain just enough to let the back of the brain settle down. For others, it's being around people who don't require performance. People you don't have to explain yourself to. People who let you exist without needing you to be on. The point is, rest isn't one size fits all. And if you've been trying to rest the way you think you're supposed to, and it's not working, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you haven't found your version yet. Let's talk about energy for a second, because that's another piece of this puzzle that nobody explains correctly. You've probably noticed that your energy doesn't work like other people's. You can be exhausted all morning, then suddenly feel wide awake at 11 at night. You can have zero motivation to do the important thing, but endless energy for the random thing that just popped into your head. You can be too tired to shower, but not too tired to research something obscure for 2 hours. That's not laziness. That's interest-based nervous system activation. Your brain doesn't release energy based on what you should do. It releases energy based on what feels relevant, novel, urgent, or interesting in that specific moment. And if the task in front of you doesn't hit one of those buttons, your brain simply won't give you the fuel. It doesn't matter how important the task is. It doesn't matter how much you want to do it. If your brain doesn't perceive it as stimulating enough, the energy won't come. This is why you can feel completely drained, then suddenly hyper-focus on something random for hours without even noticing time pass. It's why you can't fold the laundry, but you can reorganize your entire bookshelf at midnight. Your brain found something that triggered a dopamine response, and suddenly the energy was there. But that energy isn't sustainable. It's borrowed. And when it runs out, you crash twice as hard. So you end up in this cycle. You push through the tasks that don't interest you, using every ounce of willpower you have, and then you collapse. Or you avoid them entirely. Chase the things that feel good in the moment, and then drown in guilt and shame later. Either way, you end up exhausted. Either way, you feel like you're failing. And either way, you blame yourself. But here's what nobody tells you. Willpower isn't a character trait. It's a limited neurological resource. And if your brain is already running on fumes because it's been fighting itself all day just to stay regulated, you don't have the same amount of willpower to pull from. You're not weak. You're running a different system with different constraints. And expecting yourself to operate the way neurotypical brains operate is like expecting a car to run the same way on half a tank of gas as it does on a full one. You've probably also noticed that your tiredness doesn't always match your effort. Some days you do a lot and feel fine. Other days you do almost nothing and feel destroyed. That's because the tiredness isn't about the tasks themselves. It's about the cognitive load behind them. Making decisions, switching contexts, managing emotions, remembering things, filtering distractions, regulating your attention. All of that takes energy. And if you're doing that all day, every day, without realizing it, you're going to be tired. Even if it looks like you did nothing. Think about it. How much energy does it take to stop yourself from saying the wrong thing? To hold back the interruption? To stay focused in a meeting that's boring you to tears? To pretend you're listening when your mind wandered 30 seconds ago? To talk yourself into starting the thing you've been avoiding? To fight the urge to check your phone? To redirect your attention back to the task? Again, and again, and again. That's exhausting. That's full-time work that nobody sees and nobody pays you for. And when you finally get home and collapse, people think you're just being lazy. But you've been working harder than most people do all day. You've just been working against yourself. And this is where the guilt comes in. Because you look around and see people who seem to handle life so easily. People who wake up and just do the things. People who don't need 3 alarms and a full crisis to get out of bed. People who can sit down and work without negotiating with their own brain for 20 minutes first. And you think, what's wrong with me? Why is everything so hard? Nothing is wrong with you. You're just playing a different game with different rules. and nobody gave you the instruction manual. Here's the truth that might actually change things for you. The tiredness you feel isn't because you're lazy, broken, or weak. It's because your brain has been running in overdrive trying to fit into systems that weren't built for the way you think. You've been spending energy you didn't know you were spending, just to appear normal, just to keep up, just to survive. And that kind of effort, the invisible kind, is the most draining kind there is. So when you rest and still feel tired, it's not because rest doesn't work. It's because you've been tired in a way that sleep alone can't fix. You've been carrying a kind of exhaustion that lives deeper than your body. It lives in the constant effort of trying to be someone you're not. And no amount of doing nothing will restore you until you stop spending energy pretending. This doesn't mean you're unfixable. It means you need a different approach. You need to start recognizing what actually drains you and what actually restores you. And then you need to protect your energy like it's the most valuable thing you have. Because it is. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are not failing at being human. You're just human in a way that doesn't fit neatly into the templates most people use. And that's not a flaw. That's just how your brain works. The exhaustion you feel is real. The effort you're putting in is real. And the fact that nobody else sees it doesn't make it any less true. You've been working so much harder than anyone knows. And maybe it's time to stop judging yourself by how easy things look for other people and start honoring how much strength it takes to be you.